So Steve, day 3, the Saturday of our trip, blessed with reasonable weather, a bit overcast. We head out from Clarence towards the Poort at Voorheesburg, the border post, going into Butabute, then making our way to a village called Klotse, and from there to Itseng and other villages, and eventually to the magnificent Katse Dam at an altitude of over 3,100 meters.
And what a beautiful trip this was, Chris.
Stunning day.
Yeah, stunning day. This is just an interlude with the map, just to show where we went.
Yeah, it also shows in the top left corner the elevation, so you can see incredible ups and downs.
And look at that there.
Yeah, that was magnificent.
So here we are. Obviously left the hotel and we're on the way to Voorheesburg to get into Lesotho. Had a spot of rain that night, remember?
Yes,
we were just a little bit nervous.
We were nervous, and I mean it was quite overcast. And in the distance you could see some rain clouds. But we seemed to escape a drop of water.
Yeah.
It's almost like it just cleaned the roads for us, settled the dust.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
And it's again early morning hour. Lots of dense cold air, and the bikes just want to go on this R711. I mean, it's just an amazing road linking Clarence to Voorheesburg.
That's my favourite, but around Voorheesburg anyway. Of course, Neighbouring takes the cake.
No, Neighbouring is in a different league. But from a sweeping corner point of view on an open road, this really is right up there.
It is.
We've done it a couple of times now. I'll never get tired of it.
And then you're starting to see the rock formations. Chris.
Yeah, back to the beautiful rock formations. We're now going from Voorheesburg to Poort, which we should be seeing soon. About an 11 kilometer stretch. Also, even just this section is worthwhile if one's got time with a car or a bike, just to ride in and just experience the solitude of these beautiful mountains.
Correct. And I think we're coming to the border post. There we go.
Yeah, it's the famous Poort, friendly border post. And we got through reasonably well. Unfortunately, Jonathan and Sharon got caught up here. Sharon's passport wasn't up to technical specifications. I think she didn't have enough pages for stamping, something ridiculous like that. And we had to leave them behind. Only later in the day discovered, when I contacted them, that they'd actually chosen to return to Johannesburg. Very unfortunate not to have them on this particular day with us.
Yeah, so now here we are on the other side. We're in Lesotho. And it was quite an eventful first few kilometers, Chris.
Yeah, it's always interesting going through. We now, as we entered Butabute, we turned to the right to find the link road. I think the road, if I remember correctly, is called the A25 rather.
A25.
The A25, which takes you all the way to Katse. But as you exit the rural areas and the road starts smoothing out, it's just an increased beauty and smoothness of road surface. This particular road, Steve, it looked like it was built yesterday.
Yes,
it's in good nick.
Yeah.
It's the maintenance on this is fantastic, and I gather that it's because of the infrastructure support to Katse. It's got to be maintained.
Okay.
And you can
Makes
see
sense.
that. You can see the effort.
And what I was amazed at is you see the solar street lights.
Yes, look at that. That's interesting.
I thought to myself, solar street lights, that's something special.
Wow, I hadn't actually noticed that now that you pointed out. It makes a lot of sense. Firstly, there's no cable to steal in between.
Yeah. And also, that was a police car that came past us.
Yes, that guy was in such a rush.
Yeah, right, at a good old speed.
Yeah. And we've mentioned it before, but we got stopped just outside of the border for speeding.
I took that out. I didn't want to embarrass you.
Yeah.
You can tell the story.
Well, we all got pulled over, and I was in front, just outside of the border post, and they accused half of us from exceeding the speed limit of 50.
Yeah.
And I said to this chap, well, it would be really criminal to fine us individually because I set the pace, and so it was. He dealt with me only, and we were on our way.
But we were forgiven.
Yeah, we got off light.
Yeah.
And here the beautiful road starts. You know, there were times where it didn't have the painted middle line section on it. It was being maintained. But this is the type of quality, leading right into the mountains, over it, right through to Katse. I could not believe the quality of this road.
It was really a good experience, this one. In fact, the road here was better than the previous day.
Yeah, no, it's totally in a league of its own. As I said earlier on, I think it's the main support, and you know they've got to keep Katse and other dams going, and this is the arterial route to get to these dams, and they really are maintained beautifully. I also think after day, you know, the previous day, day two's long trip, the guys were easing into this ride. You could see, you know, the rhythm was setting in. Everyone was very much comfortable with the riding. There was a relaxed feeling about this day.
And it was a relaxed day.
It was a relaxed day, yeah. The only deadline we had is that Colin had booked a trip for us with a guide at Katse Dam, and there was a set time.
Yeah,
that was the only constraint.
But wasn't that was clever. I didn't know that he'd done that.
Yeah, no, it was sort of, he mentioned it at some stage of the planning, and I'd actually forgotten about it at all. Carl went ahead and booked this, and what a great idea. This is the slow traffic, the donkey
and
carts,
the
and the mules.
Well, that was
oxen. That was an ox wagon.
Yeah, there were a lot of those ox wagons.
Ox wagon, yeah.
But you can see what's in the distance where we're going.
Yeah, we saw that, and you know, it got dark at some stage. So I remember getting a bit of a debrief from Mike Pohl on this, because Mike had done this trip quite a few times, and he mentioned that at the bottom of the pass, before we go over these mountains, there's a boomed gate, and from there onwards, the amount of corners to Katse ran into the hundreds. I can't remember the exact figure, but multiples of hundreds. And his words were, you know, after the gate, the fun starts. And I'll never forget that, because that is exactly how it was.
And of course, on a motorcycle, it's exactly what you want, because you don't want these long, straight, boring roads.
Yeah,
you need those corners.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Just something on the way now, anticipating getting to this gate. There was an incident that's worthwhile mentioning. It's something to look out for, and we'd heard of it. You know. Children throwing objects at you when you come past, and when we stopped at this gate, Hermann was quite upset, and mentioned to us that the projectiles had been thrown at him, and he'd been hit on the helmet with something, and also against the leg. The helmet hit was it looked like a dead bird or something. There was a blood smear on it, and then on the leg he was hit with a rock from the same group of kids. And I was riding in front of Hermann, and I saw them pointing this out to us. It was a very slow hairpin bend, and they seemed to present these projectiles. I went past, and unfortunately they threw these at Hermann. So it's just something to take into consideration from a safety point of view. It doesn't make all children there of devious nature, not at all. And everyone was actually friendly. Most of the time, 99% of the time, we had people waving at us. Friendly environment, but just these things can happen on these trips.
Well, first of all, I think that the guy must have had bloody good aiming capability, because it's not easy to hit somebody that's moving, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it's something that you're right, Chris. You
just got to look out for it. When we came back, I had a young chap trying to skip a stone into my tyres as well. But it's just naughtiness, you know. like Stevie, where are we now, man? Are we?
We are in the most incredible. I feel alive.
You feel alive, Stevie?
Alive and alive.
Yeah, well done, man. Top of Katse, the pass going up to Katse, eh?
Yeah, you don't want to step back here
Yeah.
unless you got a parachute.
Look at that, eh?
Yeah.
Look at the mountains. I mean, this is incredible. And it's soft air this morning. Quite cold. We're at 15 degrees at the moment. And yeah, this is just let
But
me
look
just
where
get,
we've come from.
let's try and see the edge here.
I'm holding you.
You're holding me. That's where we've come from, guys. Down there. That's the road coming up here. You look at these mountains. We're at cloud level here, man.
We're actually in the cloud.
We're in the clouds here.
Yeah.
The other manner.
Yeah.
There's Hermann
All
taking
right.
another photograph.
Get out of the pictures. Okay, sorry.
Cole smoking a cheroot.
You can't put a video of me smoking.
Can't I do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But now that you've mentioned it, you can smoke. Okay.
Thanks.
Suck it, Cole.
wife
Light
will-
that cheroot,
the
man.
wife will-
Light the thing, man. I want to see a puff going, Cole.
The wife will go where?
Is it? Look. That's it. You think he's going to get it going, Graham? I'm not so sure about that. Eh? Yay! Hey! It was a good. So yeah, we've apexed the mountains, the pass, and we now in seemingly level country. Although there are ups and downs and mountains, we heading towards Katse now, which lies in a basin in these mountains.
There was a little town that we got to at the bottom of the slot.
Yes, there was also.
I don't know what it was called.
It's a diamond mine as well. I must try and find the name of that mine. It escapes me now. Yeah, but
But now you can see, Chris, I'm starting to push a little bit because I'm using both sides of the road.
Yes, and
But you can see ahead.
And so it should be. It was this beautiful open road, and
Yeah.
you know, we all had such fun here.
You know, when you look at motorcycling, Chris, and you think about it, you know, you get these guys that build trucks and things, and hats off to them. But you don't get that same feeling of that, because it's that leaning that gives you that exhilaration, I think.
Steve, I can't agree with you more. You know, I can't say that I was a surfer in my young days. I was an avid windsurfer, offshore windsurfer, but I always looked at the surfing boys around me, and I think they have the same feeling. You know, it's all about bottom turn, top turn, leaning into it, momentum and pleasure.
Yes,
You know,
making
and
it.
the exhilaration of it. And I think this type of bike riding is probably as close as you can get to what it feels like
It is.
surfing. You know.
It is. Well, I think it's the closest you can get to flying.
Definitely so.
You know,
Yeah, flying literally a meter or two off the ground. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so you get
Yeah.
that feeling of the speed. You get everything. So,
It's also the smells
Mm.
and the senses. You know, you get this cold air,
yeah.
the clean air, the freshness of it all.
Mm.
You know, it's
And the nice thing is, you know, even when you go through a field that's been recently fertilized,
Yes,
you
yes.
get that manure
you
smell.
can smell everything that
Yeah.
happens in your
Yeah.
environment. You know, you can smell the vegetation. You can actually smell the changes of vegetation. So your senses are on high alert, and that type of zoning is, I think, unique to this type of motorcycling.
But wait until Mike sees this, and it's going to bring back memories.
No, for Mike, this is old tacky stuff. You know,
Yeah.
he's
He's done it many
He's
times.
taken a lot of people up these trips.
Yeah.
And it's good to show Mike that the roads are still as good as ever. You know,
I think so.
That's the main thing.
I think so.
Yeah. But you know, I referred to on our previous episode the fact that Katse Dam is linked to Clarence by an underground tunnel
Yes.
of hundreds of kilometers. Apparently, it's a 9-meter diameter tunnel.
Really?
And you know, it's incredible to think that infrastructure was purposefully built so many years ago and serves us to this day.
I was reading that it was an engineer in South Africa in 1951. Why I remember it was the year I was born. But in 1951, he came up with a concept, because he said in the future South Africa is going to struggle with water.
Yes.
And here is an opportunity
Yeah.
to harness the water and feed it.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Well, an absolute visionary.
And there on the left, we can start to see the water.
Well, there's the emergence of Katse. Now, Steve, we rode for probably 50 kilometers in sight of this dam either side of us.
Yeah.
In the valley.
And there you are. You told me about that.
That's the overflow that goes into.
And apparently it's 10 stories deep at that point.
Yes.
And it's not that far off the edge.
Yeah. So that is part of the tunnel system that flows out.
It's one of the pump stations.
Well, it's a lot of it is gravity from there to Clarence, you know. So it's a spillover and then a tunnel system. It's amazing. You know, the concept is just amazing. And there's ongoing maintenance and road works here.
All the boys work on this road.
Yeah, and there are bridges that connect villages, because you can well imagine how many rural areas were cut off when this huge dam was built. It's a fascinating concept. You know, if you think about it, the dam is now 27 years old. And from the day the construction was finished, the dam wall was finished, it took 1 year for it to fill up. It filled up in the first season.
And it's never been empty since.
And it's never been empty. And you're looking at 2 billion cubic meters.
And you know, the guy that is going to talk to us a little bit later on, he was saying that the water is so pure in Katse that you do not have to run anything to clean it up more.
Yeah.
He says the problem is it goes into the river system, and by the time it gets to the Vaal, it's now polluted.
That is exactly it. You know? So it's all potable quality in the reservoir, the dam itself.
Yeah.
But coming back, just to re-emphasize, I mean, 2 billion square meters of water.
Yeah.
Cubic meters of water. That you don't have to add 3 zeros, so that's 2 trillion liters.
Yeah.
It's the 10th biggest dam on the globe.
Is that so?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And also it's really deep.
It's massive.
It's really deep.
Yeah. In saying dam, one must just realize that lakes are natural and dams are man-built.
Yes,
you know, so we can't compare it to some of the lakes on the world, but we can compare it to the dams made on the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And this is the bridge over, hey? And this is still quite a long way before we get to the actual dam wall.
To the dam wall, it's a long way. As I said, we travelled for 50 k's next to it. The other interesting aspect is it's not very wide. So I would say the dam at its widest is maybe 1.5 kilometers.
Yeah.
But its length is enormous, and then of course it's very deep. So its volume to surface area is small.
Yeah.
And therefore,
but that's great. That's great for no evaporation and stuff like that.
You know, compared to a smaller dam like the Vaal Dam, which is shallow and very open, wide surface area and huge evaporation.
But look at that wall. I mean, just go straight up there. Hey! Imagine the pressure behind that wall.
I can't imagine that. I really can't.
Hey, listen, Chrissy, do you notice that crack over there?
Is that where the water's coming out? It's cracked down here. I think he did this.
Full construction. No, just open it.
You go like this, and then you go like that, and then you say, voila.
Yeah.
So the tour guide says to me, "Were you lost?" I said, "No, they were lost." There we go. How's that?
Yeah, cool. That's it.
At least she's going to film with you.
So we got a video going now.
I know.
Yeah, this is how a safety hat should fit.
Fantastic day, hey? Look at this, Katse Dam with some visitors and some friends.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
I snuck that in. I know you're not supposed to, but
Well done. I didn't think you'd have any footage. If we look at this dam wall here, this is a 185 meter tall curved dam wall. Well, 27 years ago, and pristine to this day. What an architectural feat.
and I want to tell you, when I did this shot here, I held my phone over the edge there, and I held onto it tight.
No.
There was no way I was looking
No, I
over
didn't
there.
want to look over the edge either. It gives me a tingling feeling in my toes.
And you know, we were talking about how it opens opportunities.
Yes.
Because the water's so clear, you want to see the trout farmers
That's
that have
correct.
got in.
Yes.
And they've got these huge buoys around where they hold the trout.
In nets.
In nets.
Yeah.
Well, they're big. I mean, the
Yeah.
trout can swim around and everything. And apparently all that trout goes to Japan. Eh?
Unbelievable. And of course, now we're heading back. The clouds were omnipresent the whole day. There were question marks whether we should put on our rain suits, yes or no, and we decided not to. And we're now approaching the peak,
Yep.
that mountain peak that we took photos of.
And you can see
on the
those
way in.
poles we were talking about on the
And
left-hand
yes,
side
yes,
there. See?
Just look at these. There they are. Exactly it.
Unfortunately, the mist didn't last that long. It was really at that high altitude that we had it.
It was just at the high altitude,
Yeah.
yes.
But I was very pleased that I was behind Hermie because he's got really strong back brake lights and lights.
I see Herman's got as it's on there, we had to.
Yeah.
The visibility in places was less than 10 meters in front of us.
What a trip. Yeah. You know, you forget about all this somehow, or it sort of takes a less of an importance.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, I mean, it's magnificent.
It was almost mystic,
Yeah.
Having gone over this mountain range earlier in the day and now totally different climatic. I must also say that the temperature dropped from 29 degrees at Katse to 12 degrees.
Yeah.
And before we descended, we had a brief stop where I was concerned about hypothermia. I was worried about those that had aero jackets on and that were being cold, but the group soon instructed me to just get off the mountain. Let's just get off the mountain. It was an instruction. It wasn't a request.
And here we're back into the little towns.
Yeah, we're into.
Now, what day was this? This was Saturday
This is still
afternoon.
the Saturday
hey?
afternoon. Yeah.
And you can see where the chaps do the shopping.
Absolutely.
Saturday afternoon.
It's the heyday, and we're back in Butabute.
Yeah.
And this is now late afternoon. It's after 3 o'clock. Bear in mind, we'd been on the road since 7 that morning, so it's quite an innings. And we had intentions. We were like horses back to the stable because there was something waiting for us on the other side of the border post.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
We'll get there, eh? But the interesting thing is, I don't know if you'll pick it up here, there was a queue of people waiting to get into one of the stores.
Yes.
And it reminded me of Sue's stepdad used to run a shop in Uppington, and he used to have everybody queued up outside, and he would say, "Kom vyf, kom vyf." He'd only let in so many at a time. Yeah.
It sounds like they treated me at Home Affairs the other day.
Yeah, kom vyf. But busy little town.
It's all happening there. And as you said, it is the hub of Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
And we worked out where are we now?
Yeah, we're at the Verriesburg Country Inn. I
That's
think it's
it,
called.
Verriesburg Country Inn.
Yeah.
And, the reason why this pulled us is, this is beyond doubt, Steve, the best jam, tea and scones
There's
that
no
you can
doubt.
have on the globe.
And the thing is, the jam is, Verriesburg famous for the cherries.
Yes.
So you get that cherry jam.
Yes.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
I bought 2 bottles to bring home, and if you put that with a little vanilla ice cream,
No.
whoa, it's
No,
magic.
you can't share that
No.
stuff. It's all for you.
And then we're on the way back to the hotel.
Yeah,
from
and
Verriesburg.
look at this at the end of the day. We've had clouds, we've had mountains, we've had mist. We've been traversed the whole of Lesotho, and now we're heading back to Clarence. And the sun came through. What a beautiful late afternoon.
Day to remember, Chris.
Yeah,
Day to
beautiful.
remember.
This is our last dinner together on Saturday, the third day. Again, a wonderful spot picked by Hermann. This is a bit like fine dining, eh, Steve? We
Yes.
had some,
What was the name of it?
I'm terrible with the name now. I
Wasn't
can't
it
remember.
Clementine?
Clementines.
I think it's
Yeah.
still called Clementines.
Yeah.
But it was real fine dining,
Yeah.
Chrissy. I mean,
Yeah.
the presentation of the food, and I thought it was
This is a different
incredible.
Shot. This is a different shot.
Yeah. And here we are on the day leaving.
Yes. So this is our departure on day 4, Sunday, and we're taking the short route back to Joburg. We'll be going R26 right up to Verlies, to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt, Verlies, on the N3 and home. We're under 4 hours.
And then finally back to the double freeway,
Yeah, we're on to the N3.
to the big smoke.
Yeah, the big smoke, and it's pretty much, yeah, easy.
So it leaves it up to me to say thank you, Chris, for a fantastic experience. You know, we don't have these in our everyday lives, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you, Steve, and thank you especially for putting this video together. It takes some doing.
It gives some memories.
It captures the memories, but the expert way in which you, and the vivid images that you leave in our mind, fantastic. And then thanks to all the Outriders, you know, as we keep saying, one guy is a biker, a couple of us together makes Outriders, and this trip is about the collective and sharing and the memories created. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.